So we recently had a spawn point shakeup and a lot of players were really unhappy about it, mainly because a lot of people lost their house spawns, a lot of people lost their cluster spawns, and they just were very unhappy about it. They felt like this change was unnecessary, and for a lot of players, I mean, it was just rough. But imagine if you lived on an island that didn't have Pokemon spawns for 7 months. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be talking about. This has nothing to do with the actual spawn point shakeup that we just had, but it's something that really speaks to a problem with Pokemon GO relying on OSM that really hasn't gone addressed. So I really hope this is something that we could really converse about, because moving forward, this problem could persist for a lot of other places, including your area, if it doesn't get handled correctly. And if you end up enjoying this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell. And if you want to support the channel financially, definitely go and check out my Patreon page. A link to it is in the description below. Even $1 per month helps, and yeah, it allows me to create a lot more videos and really just support the channel financially. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, everyone, and let's get right into it. So I was browsing this Sylph Road Reddit like many of you do, and I'm pretty sure you saw this post. It really caught my eye, mainly because if you think about Pokemon GO, recently it's been undergoing a lot of different changes in regards to the spawn points. And basically the headline reads, 7 months without a single spawn. And my goodness, like this situation that this group of players have been experiencing is just my nightmare, right? Like imagine living on an island and for 7 months you have had 0 spawns, and it's because of something faulty with OSM and the nature of OSM. And the reason why OSM is problematic for Pokemon GO is because you have trolls, you have people who could manipulate the system, you can exploit it, and it really comes down to the user creation portion of OSM, right? Like OSM is a great tool, it's something that's really unique and it's a lot of fun to edit yourself, but at the end of the day, it is problematic for Pokemon GO as a whole, especially because Pokemon GO relies on OSM. And of course, any player can just go into OSM and, you know, change the map up for their favor or for the disfavor of someone else. So let's just read this post. I think this deserves a lot of exposure. Yeah. Hello all. It's already been 7 months since the last day our island had spawns. Wow. Just let that sink in for a second. So going 7 months without a single spawn in your area, that's gotta be miserable. But anyway, this specific island is Salamina, located in Saronic Gulf, Attica, Greece. Wow, that's a mouthful, but you can kind of tell where the island is at the moment. For the record, before the scheduled update of Pokemon GO maps, a user of OpenStreetMaps, that's OSM, tagged the whole Saronic Gulf as Natural Bay without untagging the lands of islands Salamina, Aigana, yeah, you get the idea. So all of the islands were still tagged as a bay. So like when you look at OSM, it shows a body of water over these islands. That's really bad. We all know that this tag, according to the official rules of Niantic, means that every spawn in this area is blocked. As an Ingress player as well, I know the fact that specific quantities of XM hints where Pokemon spawns are more likely to appear, at least this was the case before the last update of Niantic, that rearranged the locations of the spawns. However, that last update didn't affect the whole island at all. Since Pokemon GO needs a new update in OSM, note that in OSM the issue is resolved thanks to user Woodwose Wolf that re-edited the map. I had contacted with Niantic Support Center many times, receiving only generic answers that I have to search more and I'm gonna find spawns somewhere, or I mean that's just bogus. I mean come on Niantic, like I know you guys are trying to automate your responses, but this situation in particular deserves a personal response. Like you need to put a human on this case, because my goodness, this is a huge deal. The island of Salamina has hundreds of Pokestops, 430 portals and ingress. Trust me, I have recently visited almost all of them. It's not an issue of me not searching enough. Please, dear community, for the sake of this game that unites us all, me and the local community of Salamina, 50 plus people, 100 plus seasonally, as well as the communities of the other 3 islands, need your user help. We have already suffered enough through 7 months, having to play only raid bosses and having to pay going to other areas or using lures and incense. I know that it's a company with more serious issues to deal with, but our issue ruins our mood and discourages us to continue playing the game. As well, new users tend to quit early. We just want something common to enjoy hunting spawns with friends. Thank you for your time, even if it's just one upvote comment or just a report in Niantic support. Any help will be welcome. And then, of course, they tag Niantic Indigo and Niantic George. They are the kind of liaisons on Reddit for Niantic. But in any case, yeah, you can see here is a screenshot of the island. It looks like it's pretty populated with roads, Pokestops, and raids, and gyms, and different things like that. But there's not a single Pokemon spawn on this island. That is really concerning, considering the fact that anyone, and I've actually seen this locally, anyone can go into OpenStreetMap and edit the map the way they want it to. And of course, you do have a bunch of checks and balance systems, but if you're at a school zone and they tag it as a school zone, but the bounds kind of reach a little bit further and hit a couple of houses, well, that area is not going to have any Pokemon spawn. So you can kind of see where my concerns are here. What this really comes down to is that Niantic needs to update their in-game maps as frequently as possible with the latest OpenStreetMap data. Like I said, OpenStreetMaps has a really nice checks and balances system, and because of the nature of it, because of the user creation, the user editing version of it, like basically a lot of players are on OpenStreetMaps as soon as it was announced that Niantic was going to be using OpenStreetMaps. And when you're in OpenStreetMaps in your local areas, you could definitely see the activity and a lot of the checks and balances systems. And the problem with that, though, is the fact that Niantic is not pulling that data into Pokemon Go. Like, honestly, if it meant like having the game down for a couple of hours every so often, like for some sort of maintenance, so that it could collect the data from OpenStreetMaps, like, I'm okay with that. I think every player is okay with that. And you got to think of it like this. If they're frequently, like every week, they're pulling data from OpenStreetMaps and updating their Pokemon Go map, like of course, if players were to exploit OpenStreetMaps to create a whole bunch of spawn points or points of interests, or let's say they were to convert a parking lot into a park so it turns it into a nest, well, if you have OpenStreetMaps being updated constantly with checks and balances, like having that update in the game, like the game is going to correct itself, right? So, you know, let's say for 1 week you have a parking lot that gets turned into a park, and of course it's a nest. Well, the next week when they update the in-game map with the most up-to-date OpenStreetMaps data, well, it's going to fix itself because someone's going to go into that area in OpenStreetMaps and say like, hey, this parking lot is not a park. So they're going to fix that change or they're going to revert it. So, you know, Niantic shouldn't be afraid to constantly update their maps. I don't know the technical aspect of it, like what that entails, like how much data they actually have to pull. Like, you know, if it is really difficult at a technical standpoint, like I can understand that. But what Niantic should really do is invest in more, you know, more help, more coders, more programmers that are able to do that, like on a weekly basis or even a monthly basis. But really, Niantic should be pulling the most up-to-date OSM data constantly. Like, that is a big deal. Like this post says, the island has been corrected in OpenStreetMaps. The unfortunate part is that it hasn't been reflected in Pokemon Go. So these people have been going for 7 months without a spawn. This is a big deal because this is happening in other places of the world, and Niantic really has to fix this. Like the whole spawn point shakeup that we had last week, I honestly want to see that every week so that people who don't have house spawns at 1 week, like they could have those house spawns again another week, and people who don't have cluster spawns in their area, well, suddenly they can see a couple of cluster spawns in the next week. You know, stuff like that. Like, this game needs to be a lot more organic, it needs to be a lot more fluid, and Niantic really has to pull the latest OSM data constantly, not just one time every 6 or 7 months. Like, no, I'm saying they need to pull the data at least once a week because OSM is constantly being updated, it's constantly changing, people are going in there and fixing certain things or they're adding certain things, and a lot of this stuff needs to be reflected in the game so that the game has the most most up-to-date data. So yeah, this is my little video regarding this one Reddit post. I think a lot of you did see this post because I do see a lot of activity on it. I do see a lot of comments on it. I really think this is concerning regarding what Niantic believes regarding OSM, because at the time that they pulled all the data from OSM, it was definitely not complete. Like if you look at my area right now, around my house, there's just nothing. I mean, like no houses, maybe a couple of streets, but a lot of parks that exist in this area are not reflected in the map. A lot of different structures, a lot of different buildings, even some new streets that were constructed are not reflected on this map. And I'm pretty sure Niantic would like to have the most up-to-date stuff in their in-game map, and it really requires them to constantly pull data from OSM as opposed to just relying on 7 or 8 month old data. So yeah, that's my message to Niantic. This is a really big problem, and it's a growing problem for a lot of different areas aside from just this island. So you really have to consider pulling the data, the most up-to-date data from OpenStreetMaps as soon as possible. But that's going to be it for this video, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget that like button, subscribe if it's your first time here. I'm Count Jinsula, and I'll catch you all later. Hey guys, before I leave, I have to give a little bit of a spiel. I mean, when it comes to the YouTube algorithm, it's extremely difficult to gauge how successful you can be on YouTube. Like, there are some times where I have a ton of views on my videos, and there are some days where I just have no views on my videos, and it really comes down to the YouTube algorithm. And there's a lot of times where I get dinged for some of the songs that I pick or some of the footage that I show, and unfortunately it's because YouTube's copyright system is a little bit broken. But if you want to support this channel financially, I highly suggest you check out my Patreon. A link to it is in the description below. Your support definitely helps me out, and it helps support this channel because I would love to crank out more videos and increase the quality, and for that to happen, I do need your help. So definitely go and check out that link. And yeah, big shout out and big thank you to all of you for supporting my channel. I hope you enjoyed this video, everyone. If you did, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell as well. Check out the links in the description below. I'm Count Jinsula, and I'll catch you all later.